Welcome back to the 40-Yard Dash, the video version. I'm Pat Forde, and we're heading into the home stretch here in the college football season. And as usual, there's a lot of playoff talk in the air. Mark Keenum, the president of Mississippi State, an influential CEO in college athletic circles, said that he doesn't think for 2026 the playoff will expand to 16 teams. It will remain at 12, which it was last year and which it is this year. He and others would like to see 16 teams. I'd like us to stay at 12 for the foreseeable future. Let's let this play out. College football is always in a hurry to try a new format, to expand, to find the next dollar. I want to see a 12-team playoff without the wonky seeding that we had last year. And let's watch it unfold and see how it goes. I look at this year's field, and I don't see a need for 16 teams. I can barely find a need for 12 teams. You look at the list of people that I have right now in my bracket, and that includes Alabama, which lost to a 4-5 Florida State, Texas Tech, which lost to 6-3 Arizona State, Texas, which lost to 3-6 Florida, Georgia Tech, which lost to 5-4 North Carolina State. So this is kind of a scratch and dent collection of contenders. I think outside of really the top three teams that are undefeated, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, there's a lot of flaws out there. And I don't think teams 13, 14, 15, and 16 would be legitimate threats to win the national championship. There's going to be some great drama as we try to boil it down to the 12 teams, but we don't need more. So I'm fine with staying at 12 this year and next year and possibly beyond that. I would imagine by 2027, it's an inevitability we will have 16 because of the money that's at stake and because there's more schools that want to say, we made the playoff, we had a successful season. I think it's going to be a plenty successful season at 12. 40-Yard Dash, second quarter. It's about time to start discussing the Heisman race, and this is a really interesting one. A lot of people this time of year want to boil it down to a couple of players. I want to expand it. I think there's at least 10 that we should be considering right now. Certainly, the top guys are the top guys. Fernando Mendoza at Indiana, Julian Sayin at Ohio State. They fit the bill. They have excellent statistics. They are 1-2 nationally in pass efficiency. Sayin 1 and Mendoza 2. Their teams are undefeated. They're playing extremely well, and they're quarterbacks. That helps a lot in this. But there's plenty of other players that I think we could be talking about as well. I would like to start that list with Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. Talk about a guy who has pulled his team up from nothing and who's really doing it himself. He has 390 combined runs and passes, third most among power conference quarterbacks. He's accounted for about 55% of their total touchdowns and 41% of their total yardage. Vandy, before he came, in the 23 games before he came, was 16-17. In the 6 and 17. In the 23 games with him, they are 15-8. How's that for an impact? And how about a linebacker? Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech. Look, Tech's defense is incredible. They have risen up into playoff contender status based on that. He leads the nation in forced fumbles with 7. They are third nationally in takeaways, Tech's defense, with 23. He's got 3 of their 11 interceptions, returned 1 for a touchdown, and he's got 49 solo tackles this year, 91 total. What about a running back? Maybe 2 of them. Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, the home run hitter there, who keeps churning out big play after big play, had another 90-plus yard touchdown run this last week. And how about another running back from Nebraska, Emmett Johnson, who is doing phenomenal work there. Maybe a lot of people haven't been paying attention, but if you saw him on Saturday night against UCLA, 232-yard all-purpose game. He's the only power conference back producing more yards from scrimmage than Jeremiah Love is. So there's plenty of other candidates out there. So I would like to see everybody who's a voter keep your minds wide open for the next 3-4 weeks before zeroing in on anybody. It's going to play itself out. We'll see who ends up in New York, but it's a good Heisman race as usual this year. Dash third quarter. Some pretty big coaching news out of Wisconsin late last week, where athletic director Chris McIntosh formally and publicly said Luke Fickell will be back as coach of the Badgers. And that maybe took one domino out of contention to fall in what's already been a really busy hiring and firing cycle. We're still in the firing part, haven't gotten to the hiring really yet. But uh, interesting that Wisconsin is going to give Fickell a fourth season. You can see some reasons why. He's had terrible injury luck at quarterback. They've played brutal schedules. Schedule gets better next year. If he can keep a quarterback healthy, maybe they turn it around. But boy, it's been a very toxic first 3 seasons there. So McIntosh is betting big on a quick turnaround. At Florida State, we're waiting to see what they're going to do with Mike Norvell. Similar situation. He's been there longer. Started slowly, had 2 great seasons, and then the last 2 have been awful. They're 4-5 right now with a team that at one point was ranked in the top 10. And he's already blown out his coordinators once. Going into this season, changed everything over, brought in Gus Malzahn and Tony White to be coordinators. Can you do that again? Usually that's a trick you can play one time. The problem, it's incredibly expensive to get rid of Mike Norvell. And Florida State isn't one of those places that has an oil man sitting out there with the $50 million that can make a mistake go away. So that one is going to be fascinating to watch. Dabo Swinney, declining return, certainly at Clemson. He's not going anywhere. Too expensive, too entrenched, too loyal both ways there. We'll see about Dave Dorn at North Carolina State, also in the ACC. He's got 4 years left on his contract, says he wants to finish there. Do they want him to finish? That's the question. Mike Locksley at Maryland has had a bit of a bell curve resume, kind of like Norvell. Started slowly, had a couple of good years, and now a downturn last year, and this one appears to be a second straight losing season. Could come down to aspiration versus resignation at Maryland. Do they aspire to try to get into the top echelon of the Big Ten? Or do they say, you know what, we're more of a basketball school, we're good at other sports, maybe that's what we should be putting our money into instead of firing coaches? Mark Stoops at Kentucky, showing some signs of life. Won 2 straight games, and boy, it's a good thing he keeps beating Florida and Louisville. He's 4-1 in his last 5 against the Gators, 5-1 in his last 6 against the Cardinals. That's been the best thing you can say about his tenure of late. He would be $38 million on the buyout if he can close strong, end up with a winning record. There's no way they're paying that, I don't think, at Kentucky. So plenty of other coaching situations to keep an eye on still. And we haven't even, as I said, gotten to the hiring part of this cycle yet. Forde-Yard Dash fourth quarter. Great week of games coming up this Saturday. Looking forward to that. Starting in the SEC, where the 2 newcomers in their second seasons after coming over from the Big 12, Texas and Oklahoma, are looking to really improve their playoff resumes on the road against the old guard. Texas is at Georgia. Oklahoma is at Alabama. Both games, a lot at stake. If Texas, Georgia, the loser. If it's Texas, probably out of the playoff. If it's Georgia, you're pushed to the periphery, but not out. So we'll see what happens between the hedges there. I think reports of the demise of Arch Manning and the Georgia defense have both proven to be a bit premature. Which of those gets the better of the other Saturday night? That could decide who wins that game. Oklahoma, Alabama. Crimson Tide looked like they could make the playoff last year until just flopping in Norman. Now we return the favor, go to Tuscaloosa. Oklahoma trying to crash into the bracket. Alabama in a good position right now. Alabama could deal a death blow to Oklahoma's playoff hopes in that game. That's another one where I'm interested to see the quarterback matchup and to see Ty Simpson against an excellent Oklahoma defense. The other games, there's some old versus new games in the Big Ten to keep an eye on as well. Iowa going to Los Angeles to play USC. USC certainly still hoping to get into the playoff. Iowa, a very, very long shot, probably not going to happen, but could they play spoiler in this game? Minnesota at Oregon. This one probably isn't going to be close, but the Ducks can't afford a slip up now with the Gophers coming out there to play them. Are they a little beaten up after that slog in Iowa City last week while Minnesota is coming off an open date? And then one other game of intrigue to me, Notre Dame Pittsburgh. The comments from Pat Narduzzi, the coach of the Panthers, this week were interesting and almost raised the question of whether he's going to tank this game because he thinks the only way into the playoff is to win the ACC championship, and they've got big ACC games left against Georgia Tech and Miami. Narduzzi was asked if it was a must-win game. He said, absolutely not. It's not an ACC game. I'd gladly get beat 103 or 110-10. They could put 100 up on us as long as we win the next two after that. So keep an eye on that. If you have any desire to bet on that game, I'm not sure I would. I'd want to see whether Pitt is really coming to play or whether they're going to be resting up and saving up for those last two games.